if those laws are exist on the books, they're subject to taxation, there's no reason for us to reiterate that.
Are there any other questions by the council members? Okay. Ms. Bowlesby?
No, I don't. I just wanted to say that I think that it's a good thing for the county.
I guess I have a question. As far as the building of the plant, would there be public hearings or public meetings or any approval process? Or is it?
The process through the PSC, as I understand it, there are public meetings held through that process, and that's where a key, I think the major review piece is through the PSC. So as was the initial project, and there'll be opportunity for comment at those proceedings.
So the members of the public or neighbors or anyone else that has any objections can speak to the Public Service Commission to the issues and concerns that they might have?
Yes.
Okay.
Would they have to go down to Baltimore to testify, or is there going to be a community meeting?
I don't know if they reach out to the community or not. I know there were proceedings in Baltimore. I'm not sure what the answer is to that.
Would Old Dominion be amenable to having a community meeting for question and answers in the public?
Good morning, Lisa Johnson, Old Dominion Electric Cooperative. Yes, we would be. We would plan on having either through the permitting process as appropriate, if regional meetings were a possibility through the commission hearing, we would be open to that.
Mm-hmm.
We would also expect to do our own community outreach, which could include meetings near or at the site.
Excellent. Can I ask, I do agree Old Dominion's been a good partner for the county. It's been clean, it hasn't been too big, you know, and I understand the expansion won't exceed the footprint either. When was this first broached with the county, the expansion?
I don't know that I can speak specifically to a date, perhaps the staff can, but we mentioned the possibility of this late last year. We went through a competitive process with several parties that bid into our, what we call a request for proposals. And we had several proposals for projects that we looked at all the way up until the first quarter of this year.
Okay.
We had narrowed it down, however, that this project would be one of those potential finalists.
Mm-hmm.
And wanted to at least present the concept of that to the county to understand what their ability was to work with us on the existing pilot agreement. But no decisions were actually made until March of this year.
Great. I just wanted to make sure the public understood that this kind of venture is somewhat fast moving. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add, Mr. Wine?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 7 on our agenda. There was a proposed resolution offered to the council last week regarding the council attorney. There was some discussion, and we were supposed to review it and make comments to the council manager. Does anyone have any last minute comments before it's turned into a resolution and introduced at a future meeting? It's not on our agenda for tonight, right? So we're not introducing it tonight, but we will be introducing it at a future. It was provided to us last week. Now, remember, there was a discussion. You don't like it. We know that you don't like it. You said you don't like it, and that's fair. Nothing wrong with that. Now, if you can.
Be more specific rather than sentence negative.
You can amend this to make it less unlikely for you to vote for, but the majority of the council members have decided to go in this direction. And so we want to codify it by resolution as per the charter. So it's easier to amend it now than it is after we've introduced it. So, is there any other, last minute changes?
Yeah, but as you mentioned, my concern is with the third whereas Mr. Allison has provided sound legal opinions and advice to the county council.
Okay.
Mr. Allison is funded by the county executive, works at her discretion, can be fired at her discretion. We don't have that liberty, and, we need, as in most other county charters, our own attorney that represents us specifically.
Okay, you've made your objection duly noted, and, Mr. Massey, would you turn this into a resolution and put it on the agenda for not tonight, but the following legislative, meeting? Before we go further, everyone has their packet for tonight. Are there any other questions? We did kind of review the are there any questions about tonight's meeting? I'd ask you to look at that quickly, and Mr. Massey, do you want to go ahead and give us your council report?
Sure. To remind you, this afternoon at 1:30, the Citizens Budget Advisory Board will be presenting their recommendations on the budget. Next week, on Tuesday, May 14th, and Thursday, May 16th, the council will meet at 1:30 for deliberation of the budget, preparing any kind of amendments. We've scheduled hopefully the budget to be adopted on Tuesday, May 21st. And on May 30th, to remind you that the Bay Cabinet will be meeting with the administration and council 10 to 2 at Allison Brown to include a bus tour of Conowingo Dam. I was asked to get the redistricting commission going before getting the chairman approved. So next Monday, May 13th at 7 in this room, the first meeting of the redistricting commission will be held. And the only other thing is we have prepared an update of the policies and procedures of the council with the additional draft for what you'd asked for, something about an invocation, the prayer, as well as about preparation of legislation. So I'll pass this out. So I would assume you would want some time to review the prayer and the information about the preparation of legislation, so we could schedule another time to discuss those drafts and then be preparing the policies and procedures for adoption or resolution.
Okay, I'd like to ask the council members to review the, I'll call this the final draft, and consider the invocation 3-10 proposal and the 5-15, whether we want to include that in our draft. We've been working with this for many months, and we need to get this introduced. So at our next work session, I'd like to finalize this so that we can get it introduced. Now, I'll ask Councilwoman Brunel if she's reviewed the draft recommendations for the 3-10 invocation.
I have, and it's consistent with what I found in my research. Also, I have received an email from a constituent, and Ms. Keller, Mr. and Mrs. Keller forwarded the story, the Cecil Wiggs story, to Alliance Defending Freedom, and their outline is consistent with what Mr. Maskey has put together. And they have said that if we adopt their outline, charge for any challenge that is, that we, encounter.
Could you email that outline?
I have a copy to, for everyone. And also, I have received an email from Pastor Bosmany, and he wanted me to share this email. A couple of years ago, he ran the Boston Marathon. He was asked at one of the pre-race dinners for the National MS Society to give prayer prior to dinner. He was reminded that in the room were Muslim, Jewish, and non-Christians, as well as Christ followers. They asked him to make sure no one would be offended. And he says there are ways in which prayer can be made with some consideration so as not to make anyone uncomfortable. This could easily be done at a council meeting just as it is done in the House of Representatives and the Senate. And he says, I, for one, am in favor of asking God's help and wisdom prior to your meeting. I was shocked to see the response on CISA-WIG, their Facebook page, the number of responses, I would say overwhelmingly, people are in support. Also on the article, there were 200 and some likes. I don't know of any other article I've seen so much response on. So I thinking that this is another one of those constitutional rights and issues that people are saying, we need to practice this, or we need to remember what our rights are. And it might be a little uncomfortable in figuring out how to proceed. I don't think so, because I think the ground has already been broken, and there are guidelines that can clearly give us direction on how to proceed. I think it'll be a positive influence in our
Is there a need for a workshop to discuss these two last-minute additions?
I would suggest yes, because I'm wondering, to get started, if maybe we should, having some samples just to practice, so, to make us feel more comfortable.
No, I'm talking about whether we want to include this in our policies and procedures. So we need to have a workshop to discuss whether or not we're putting it in our workshop, or excuse me, our policy and procedures. Any other comments from any other councilmen?
I do want to point out that President Hodge, you sent out an article from the Baltimore Sun where Carroll County Board is challenged over Christian prayers. Lawsuit seeks to end sectarian invocations before meetings. I know that it's certainly going to open us up for criticism. Not that I'm not for prayer, because I am for prayer, but I don't know that I'm for prayer before a council meeting. I'm not sure yet. And I do not want that prayer to be used as a bully pulpit for any councilman's position on a particular issue.
Okay, do we want to have a workshop to discuss these two amendments to our draft policies and procedures, or do we want to vote on it next week? I fully intend to bring this up for a vote on whether we want to include them in our draft.
Okay, and I would recommend that Funk and Bolden, who provided these guidelines, and he also provided these guidelines to Rock Hall, that after they had been challenged on the way that they were conducting their prayer, that we get a feedback from them about Carroll County, how we might be able to avoid that, or if there's any standing whatsoever in that lawsuit.
When we finish the draft, I'll accept the motion to have the whole entire draft reviewed by an attorney. Okay, not piece by piece, but let's get our draft together that we want for council, and then we'll consider having it sent to an attorney for review.
Mr. President, are you referring to 3-10 exclusively?
3-10, do we want to have a workshop to discuss it, or do we want to just vote on it next week? And have a discussion at our next work session?
If I might speak to this, I personally have no problems with prayer at these meetings. However, I do believe that we should basically disregard this and not institute it. A moment of silence is more than adequate. I feel that we're just basically creating an entire set of problems which will confront us in the future.
Okay. Do we want to have a workshop to
I
discuss
move that
this?
we do not have a workshop to discuss
Okay,
this.
is there a second?
Dash 10.
Is there a second to not having a workshop?
I'll second not having a workshop.
Okay, any further discussion?
I would request that we do have a workshop just to, review the scope of 3-10, and also, in, addressing specific concerns.
Okay, there's been a motion to have another workshop to discuss, the addition of 3-10, and I'm gonna also include, 5-15. All those in favor say by aye. No workshop. There is a motion for no workshop. Sorry. All those in favor of no workshop say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, then we're just gonna,
I'll oppose.
yes, we knew that was coming. 3-1, it fails. Or it passes, so we're not gonna have a workshop, and we're gonna have it on our agenda for next week. We're gonna make a final decision. Now, all those council members who have an alternate method of invocation, please put something together, whether it's just a moment of silence or anything else that if you don't like the one that's being proposed, please offer up any or none. The none is we won't have an invocation. But if you would support an invocation with a moment of silence, and put the guidance in front of us, okay, so that we have choices. We either approve the one that's been proposed with amendments, or we have an alternate, or we just don't do it at all. So that those will be the choices that we'll have next week.
Well, I just wanted to remind once again that the Alliance Defending Freedom, if your real concern is being challenged, that they are willing to represent us for free if we follow their guidelines, which are pretty close to what was submitted by Funky Golden, if that is truly your concern. And, should we read what is the proposed, guideline?
I don't think it's, I don't
Mr.
think.
Massey, could you submit this on the website, for the agenda, including this, to show what the guidelines were being presented?
I don't
And you
think,
can also put this on there, the Alliance Defending Freedom, the email I got. I haven't asked permission from the Kellers to submit their email, so I wouldn't do that, but I would do the one directly from Alliance Defending Freedom.
okay, time out. What are we doing? What did you ask him to do?
I just asked him to post the information I submitted here to show that we have coverage on challenge, if that's your real concern.
All right, is that okay with the rest of the council? Yes or no, Joyce?
I haven't decided, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I get concerned when individual council people, myself included, ask for things constantly to be researched, to be posted, to be reproduced. And I think that you be asking for everybody's vote is a good idea, and I think we should do that for all issues. Like I was really, but whether we need this or not, I'll say, yeah, go ahead and post it. You have it, and all you have to do is that a lot of work for you? Does it need to be retyped? I just think we need to be concerned with how much work we're throwing at staff for little to no reason.
I don't think it's worth the effort. We haven't decided yet. I think that what we, the council, would put our arguments together when we have a plan. We do not have a draft yet. This is very rough. And to post everything on the internet, to post everything on our website in piecemeal fashion, when we haven't a document for someone to review and consider, I think it's a mistake. And I think it's gonna cause more problems than it's worth, and we'll just run out of space, so,
But when it
I.
provides a clearer picture of what is going on, I think it's.
You're just assuming that we're objecting, and you wanna post something that supports your position, and
Yeah,
we
you
haven't
objected, you know,
objected it to it yet.
Yeah, of course.
Why don't you put it on, your blog, Diana?
Right, I think that would
Because
be more
this is a
appropriate.
discussion that we just had, and from the discussion that I've been hearing, it sounds like the majority are very concerned with the can of worms this is going to open, isn't that the very words I just heard? And I had previously said they were willing to represent us for free if we follow their guidelines.
Following guidelines is very difficult. I've gotten speeding tickets before, and I really try to follow guidelines. Now, who's to say that one of us, at some point in time, will not make a mistake, which will cause us to be sued because we forgot the guidelines? I think that the intent is good, but I do not think that this is the place where we should spend our time doing this. A moment of silent prayer, no other thing. Everybody can pray or curse underneath their breath as they choose. But I do not think we should introduce this. I think this is flying in the face.
We'll have that discussion.
We have a discussion right now.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are having a discussion right now.
We are not having a discussion, it's.
I voted
Hold on,
and made a motion to
Mr.
table
McCarthy,
this.
Mr. McCarthy. We heard you the first time, we heard Diana, we're making a decision next week. We're making a decision next week. What we're talking about this matter is whether or not we're throwing stuff at our website. And I just think it's a big mistake to throw stuff on the website that isn't, it's not action items. It is not proposed legislation. It is not resolutions. It's stuff. And if we could just throw all this stuff on the website, what are people gonna think? And I just don't, I think it's a mistake. Now, I wanna move on, but the next time around,
Okay.
we need to have an approval on the stuff that we throw on the website.
I agree, and you haven't had a chance to review this, then you can go to my website, dianaverbal.com.
Put this on
I'll have it-
motion
yeah, I'll-
procedures.
yeah. But please review, and if you find that it's relevant, let me know.
I have it, I'll certainly give it, my time of consideration. Okay, Mr. Messi, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't.
Okay. Council members, we'll start with Dr. McCarthy. Do you have any comments?
Well, thank you very much. I'm just gonna read a little thing that I have here. Religious institutions that use government power in support of themselves and force their views on persons of other faiths or of no faith undermine our civil rights. Moreover, state support of an established religion tends to make the clergy unresponsive to their own people and leads to corruption within religion itself. Erecting the wall of separation between church and state, therefore, is absolutely essential in a free society. It's Thomas Jefferson, the writer of the Declaration of Independence, and your second president. Yes, I have many things to say. Of a lighter nature, Port Deposit this afternoon at 4:30 is going to have a public ceremony to acknowledge an agreement between Towson University and Port Deposit to establish a turtle sanctuary. This is at 4:30 and will be at, I think it's the Port Deposit Gas Lighthouse. I think everyone should attend. Next, I'm trying to basically give these things as they come up. I might want to call on Lisa Webb. She made an excellent presentation and organized the Economic Developments Council meeting. If she would like to give the highlights of that, I'll be ever so grateful. If she won't, I will. So please come forward.
Thank you, Alan. I'm not really prepared. I don't have my information with me, but I do thank you for giving me the opportunity. The Economic Development Commission has been reported very well. Thank you very much for that information. It's good to get some. I'm sorry. Hi.
Turn it on.
Better? Oh my gosh. I can hear myself. Again, I want to just thank you, Alan, Councilman McCarthy, for providing that opportunity. I'm really not prepared. It was adequately provided in print last week, which I do appreciate. Our Economic Development Commission has been meeting since September to provide an update to the strategic plan and SWOT analysis that was done in 2004. As a result, as you can imagine, some things haven't really changed a whole lot, and there's still a significant need for infrastructure improvement along our growth corridor. In addition to that, some key areas which were identified along with land use, technology preparedness, workforce preparedness. Included in that was the educational perspective, as well as communication from a county perspective and an economic development perspective. Now, our Economic Development Commission, it consists of the leaders of this community, and I was really pleased with the effort that they have put forth, a lot of hours, and these are people that have jobs of their own, so you can imagine how beneficial it is to Cecil County Economic Development, but to the government and to this community for their effort. So I was really pleased with that. We will move forward with providing some assistance to make this a reality. Maybe in the past what hadn't happened was a consistent tracking of accomplishments or getting it to the end goal. And our desire for our office is to make sure that we track this, that we create a scorecard to complete this, and come back to you and to the county executive to make sure that we are progressing in the manner in which we should, that we're funded in the way in which we should be to get these accomplished. We do see an awful lot of opportunity in Cecil County, and to make that a reality, we need your help. We need the county executive's help in this community working together. So.
Well, thank you very much. You did an excellent job, and then what you said is very minimal compared to what was presented. It was an absolutely perfect presentation. It clearly defines the goals, where we need to go, and how we're going to get there. Thank you so very much.
Can I ask, Lisa, this was the updated master plan from the Economic Development Commission, correct?
But it's not a master plan, it was a strategic plan that was done.
I'm sorry, strategic plan.
Strategic plan that was done in 2004, based on our economy, the national and state and local economy that's really changed over the past real considerably 5 years, but really needed to be updated and kind of brought fresh. So that's what we decided to do back in September and started that with that initiative with those 5 work groups. So.
Well, I remember the previous commissioners had said, we saw this plan, strategic plan hasn't been updated, and they waited until we got a new economic development director and you moved forward with that. And I was very impressed with the consistency of the goals. It went along with Monty Von Basu's jobs report and the Upper Shore Regional Council's strategic plan. And we also have in the Upper Shore the scorecard and review. You have to constantly go back and say, well, did we meet our goals? Why not? Regroup. One of the things that I saw, Rupert Rossetti was the chair of the land use. And one of the top priorities was infrastructure on the growth corridor. And I could not agree more. And you've heard me saying this before. I really think the $30 million that has been proposed for Seneca Point, we should be investing that in infrastructure to attract growth. So, just my fully little bit there. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much. The program concluded with a wonderful presentation by DPW's Director, Scott Flanagan, which basically delineated all of the values and the assets which will be derived by the county if we embrace his proposed Northeast Wastewater Treatment Plant date upgrades. So I think we should take our hats off to him. He was very well received for the most part. Well, I didn't ask your opinion, did I? No, I didn't. Now, President Hodge and myself attended Baltimore's guess the citizens, the leadership and awareness thing in Baltimore was very wonderful. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Thompson, who basically is a standard-bred breeder, was cited for his industriousness, his aggressiveness, and his wonderful business he's established in Chesapeake City, Maryland. Mr. Hodge was able to give him an award and a presentation by Cecil County. Now, last but not least on my little tirade here this morning is that on April 25th, Blue and Obrick, a Towson-based commercial real estate company firm, went into settlement and purchased 91-acre Baysville property. The property is located at Appleton Road in Elkton, Maryland. This valuable property is replete with a 141,000 square foot research center, and is sold for a paltry sum of $5 million. Cecil County Public Schools had approached the previous government hoping to secure financing, or at minimum, at least a commitment to do a due diligence or a feasibility study to convert the property into a vocational school for Cecil County. The previous commissioners were unable to see any value in this property and chose not to move forward with either a purchase or a feasibility study. Now the citizens must prepare to spend in excess of probably $40 million to purchase land and build a new vocational technical school somewhere in Cecil County in the future. I think that this was absolutely a horrendous thing that's happened. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin?
Nothing nearly as exciting as Dr. McCarthy, but I did want to compliment the Economic Development Commission on that report. I've read it, and I'm sorry I couldn't be at the meeting on Wednesday, but it's excellent, and you deserve kudos, as does all the committees. On Wednesday night, I attended the Expressions of Healing art exhibit at the Cecil County Arts Council. If you haven't been, I suggest you stop in. It's inspiring, brings tears to your eyes. It was a great event. And then on Thursday, I had the most fun that I've had since I have become a council person. I went to Career Day at Gilpin Manor Elementary School and talked about council to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Politics is boring. Well, not always boring, especially if you come to these meetings, but it's pretty much boring, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And so what I decided to do was I did one-line scripts. And we had a landowner, we had the Director of Parks and Recreation, we had the county executive, we had 4 council people, because I needed to be the president to do that. Sorry, Robert. And we had 3 citizens for the land investment and 3 citizens against it. And then we voted on whether we were going to buy the land or not. And I think I did a pretty good job, because number one, the kids were great. But 2 classes voted for the against buying the land, and 3 classes voted for buying the land. So I obviously gave a balanced argument. The children were absolutely fantastic, and the school district needs to be very, very proud, because they had, after they voted, I asked them why they voted the way they did. They had great answers, and it was just a wonderful morning. I was thrilled. So that's what I did last week.
Thank you. Councilman Vermel.
Last week I had promised another fact sheet. I know Director of Public Works had presented his own on the website. So this is my version. And,
This is the fact sheet regarding the Seneca Point wastewater treatment.
exactly, and you can go to my website and do that as well on that website. One of the key points in this whole thing was that I was always concerned about the price. It was initially told to us $60 million for this project, and later it was agreed that we could split it up in 3 phases. But it was only after Bill Feely, I spoke with Bill Feely, that he confirmed that yes, he also agreed this project was really expensive, especially in light of the correspondence with GHD, our consultant, and MDE. We were never given copies of that correspondence, and after that meeting at Economic Development, I had asked Director Flanagan about this, and his reply really concerned me. He said to me, never say I didn't provide the information. What he provided was not that information, but as I've said before, spoon-fed information. And, go to dianabrummel.com to see the concerns that we've raised, and I've gotten feedback that a number of people don't understand why this project is moving forward when we can do this, for, the amount that GHD outlined in their proposal, and the flush fund grant covers it, and we should be investing first on the infrastructure on the growth corridor before we, way in advance, invest in, concerning the, expansion of the, Seneca Point. Mr. McCarthy, you brought up the Basel site. I've also written about this in the past. The proposal that the school put together, it's disputed about the cost for renovations. I believe at the time, they said it was full renovations. We had documentation to show it only had 1/3. With the company coming in to buy the Basel site, this will guarantee that it still will be a company that is, generating revenue, property taxes, and will, it has infrastructure. This is what we should be investing in. And the current School of Technology site, I have spoken with the school board, I let them know, I'm willing to see what their proposals are for expanding their current School of Technology. We could use modulars, not relocatable, modulars, to expand their current School of Technology, to accommodate those programs that can be moved out of the building, so that they can expand the welding or the other programs that have to be located within the site. We're talking about 150-person waiting list right now. You know, there's 16,000 students in our school system right now, and to focus so much investment in just that one area, I have cause for concern. Where the proposal, the original proposal for the expansion of the School of Technology at the northeast site makes more sense. Why are we even considering this when our school population is going down, when we're still in the middle of a recession, and the state isn't going to help, they're willing to help fund the new building when our populations come back. This would be, hold on, you had your say, now I'm explaining the other side of this. What they had proposed at the Basel site was a School of Technology, not a comprehensive high school, whereas Northeast was a comprehensive high school. I would propose that we sit down with the school board and see what they are willing to discuss. They have said they've reviewed this already, there are no other options. I would like to see what they have reviewed for that site to determine there are no other options. And to hear that their dropout rate is directly related, that there are no positions available in the School of Technology, so they drop out of school, I think that's just a convenient argument. They have never said that before, and I think they just started bringing this up out of a matter of convenience. Okay, so I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, the Maryland Horse Industry Board has another meeting planned for May 14th, which is a legislative meeting day, at 10 a.m. My neighbor Hilltop Ranch. I'll be sending a representative because I can't attend since I'll be here at the work session. And this has something to, that was the proposal that Mr. Ross Petticord is looking for infrastructure across the state of Maryland for a regional, it's a horse park idea that he was floating. Let me see, there was something else. On the matter of prayer, Mr. McCarthy, you had your say. I'm going to read from the Alliance Defending Freedom. On July 29, 2011, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit decided in Joyner versus Forsyth County, North Carolina, Fourth Circuit 2011, that legislative prayers delivered by speakers selected through a neutral selection procedure are constitutional. However, the Fourth Circuit established some new guidelines for the implementation of public invocations offered within its jurisdiction, and the Fourth Circuit includes the states of North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland. This letter addresses the impact of the Joyner decision. In Joyner, the Fourth Circuit reaffirmed that prayer before public meetings of deliberative bodies can be delivered without violating the establishment clause of the Constitution. The court thus made it clear that governmental bodies do not need to abandon the centuries-old tradition of legislative prayer. The court also acknowledged there are various ways to continue the practice and declined to set forth some sort of template for the ideal legislative prayer policy. If you, in Joyner versus Forsyth County decision, there were some basic guidelines, and it's in your packet of information that I gave you. One last thing I wanted to bring up. I had received a call from a citizen in the Charlestown area about a meeting held here Monday on a settlement proposal with York Building Products, that court case that we have. And they had asked, was the council informed on this settlement proposal? They were informed. The reply was yes. There was a meeting set up and we were informed. I have not had any information provided to me on this decision. Mr. President, could you expand? Do you know anything about this?
No, I can only suggest to you that as soon as you're finished, we'll go into closed session, and Mr. Allison is here to bring us up to date on several legal issues.
What is the nature of your inquiry?
So apparently they were given wrong information that we were not brought up to speed, we were not aware. And I was attending these court hearings, and I tell you, the judges, the way I was listening to the judge as well as our attorney, it seemed that we were well within our bounds to do what we had done. And it's interesting that a settlement is being proposed now from the county executive, and the citizens are concerned about a conflict of interest because of some certain issues with campaign funding. So, all right, that's all I have.
Thank you. I'll just say that there's a lot of good things happening in Cecil County. There's a lot of good businesses, and one of those is Winback Farms. With Alan McCarthy and others from Cecil County, we participated in the World Center Institute's award ceremony that really gave a lot of credibility to those businesses in Maryland that do a lot of international business. And it's interesting to note that Winback Farms sells horses and semen worldwide, not just in Maryland and surrounding states. They've been very successful. They employed over 125 people, and it was, when you can put Winback Farm and Under Armour in the same category, you know that things are doing well for Cecil County, and we're glad to have them, in addition to the job creation, the taxes they pay, but also the fact that they keep a lot of open space. And I think that they're part of Cecil County is one of the prettiest parts of Cecil County other than where I live.
I don't dispute that. Laura, it's pretty beautiful.
You're right. I did get a copy of the Economic Development Commission findings and recommendations. There's a lot in it. I know there's a lot of effort put forward. There's going to be a lot of effort that's going to be required by the executive and the council to implement it. It's going to require resources that we'll have to talk about at a future budget cycle, and whether we're willing to commit those resources to move the economic development department and the economic development efforts of Cecil County forward. But I did agree, and I do believe that a report card or a scorecard should be kept to see our progress, and whether or not we are making the effort that we need to do to be successful in terms of economic development. One last comment. I know that Councilwoman Brumel has made several references to her blog site, and I just want to warn people that this is her opinions. Her blog site is loaded with opinions. I believe, in my opinion, it's loaded with misleading and factual misrepresentations. And I'll just give you an example of this fact sheet she handed out, which she says is listed on her blog site. Item number 9, growth in the Seneca Point service area is not anticipated to reach 2 million per gallon per day capacity until 2030 and 2035. So the expansion project could be delayed. Well, first off, there's a lot of things that we're doing for the $40 million that would make this plant better regardless of the capacity. But more importantly, I think that everyone else's projections are probably around 2020, plus or minus a few years. No one knows for sure when the capacity is going to reach 2 million gallons per day. But every legitimate estimate that I've seen is 10 years earlier than Diana Brumel's projection. She can reach her opinions, but that's what it is. And I've seen many of her other posts on her blog site that, in my opinion, are very misleading. So if you want factual information, I would not rely on the internet. I would not rely on Ms. Brumel's blog site. If you want factual information, I suggest that you use multiple sources so that you can compare to get that information. Do not rely on one source anywhere, ever.
I agree with that. You should never rely on one source, and I think you should back up what your statements are. And the information we ask for flow rate currently, which is close to 1 MGD. We asked for the growth rate projection, and we got numbers from Tony Giacomo, which is from Wilmapco. And we also got
Point of order, Mr. President, you didn't allow us to talk, so why should
Yes, all right.
Commissioner Brumel be allowed to talk?
I'd like to have a motion to go into closed session, please.
I move that we go into closed session.
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Massey, would you read the reason why?